Hey everybody, I'm Dave here with Q again for another video in our channel. Thanks for visiting us today. And today we're going to start a new series on teamwork and specifically teamwork for professionals. Now, you could probably apply some of these in sports, but we're not going to focus on sports. We're going to focus on a group of professionals. It could be doctors, engineers, computer programmers, accountants, lawyers, anything, or a combination of any of those groups and more. So, I want to talk a little bit about what are the dynamics in the team. So, Q, what are the difficulties that folks have when they work as a team?
Well, one that I notice all the time, my friend, and you may have seen that, and I'm quite sure you did, is they confuse a bunch of people in a group with a team. That's the biggest problem. They think just because there's, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 people in a group, they are actually a team. And that's when things start to go wrong. They don't know the difference between a bunch of people in a group and an actual team.
Yeah, that's one of the things where, that I found over the years is when you do form a team or you do say, hey, I think we're a team, is to do something called a team charter or a team canvas and actually write down, actually give your team a name, right? So I've seen some pretty clever names over the years. And what is the purpose of this team? And sometimes teams may be short lived and talk about it. But a lot of times people make assumptions when you start to form a team that you find out later not everybody was aligned with those assumptions. So we go ahead and we write it down somewhere online, on a whiteboard, whatever, right? So actually form the team. So, what are some of the other challenges then once you do form a team?
Well, speaking of good team names, I had a team once was called Seven Samurai. They even
Seven
had
Samurai?
Seven Samurai. They even have a katana on their team room. It was
Oh,
really cool.
nice.
It was really, really cool. A few times I think people wanted to use the katana for doing no good, but you know how it is, right?
Going after each other.
Yeah, some days you're really mad, but that's actually
Yeah.
part of the team. One of the things that defines team for me is when you get mad, you vent it, and 2 minutes later, it's all good. It's like, yeah, it's about the passion. It's not about insulting somebody, being mean to somebody. No, it's about the passion. It's about showing your passion, right? So one of the
Yeah.
things that's important in a team is to have passion for what you do,
Yeah.
to have a goal, to pursue the goal with passion. And when you are passionate, oh hell, we are going to argue, oh hell, we're going to say crazy things, but as soon as the temperature of the room goes down, everybody's cool again. Everybody
Yeah.
recognizes that that was just the passion to actually get stuff done.
Do you find that when you form a team, it's kind of important to maybe talk about some working agreements or some rules, so that you know, like, if there's a problem, how do we talk about it? How do we raise it?
Yeah, and actually, one of the things that is important too is to, I talk about the passion, right? Hey, when we all get mad, how do we act, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people say to me, well, assume positive intent. I said, okay, well, assumptions are a problem, right? So I like to have a conflict protocol, which we have to define when everybody's cool-headed. It's like cool, just came back and everything is okay. Not 5 minutes after you just had an argument because not going to work well, but define a protocol. Hey, what we do when uh, when things go wrong, right? I mean, when we get at each other's throats, and it can be very simple. Say, you know what? The moment the voices start to go up, time out, guys. Let's go out for 10 minutes and come back. Or, hey, you know what? Let's talk about this after the weekend. You know, and another thing that's very important, don't create triangles. You know what a triangle is? Is when you get mad at somebody and you go talk to somebody else about that person, just created a triangle in there, right? Instead of
Yeah.
actually, so part of the conflict protocol can be, A, address the person directly as soon
Right.
as the temperature of the room goes down, etc. So there are many things to go in team agreements, what time we should meet, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the most important and often neglected thing is, A, when we have a conflict, how do we solve it? And that's what defines a team against a bunch of people who think they are a team, right? A team,
Yeah.
you know people well, you know how to deal when things, the temperature of the room go up, and that all that stuff. But there are many other things, but that's one of the things.
Yeah, I think teams that can navigate conflict, and I know that sometimes we try to avoid conflict. I mean, look, I'm not a big fan of it, but if you know how to raise it, and that's where like different teams can do different things. But if your team can bring up conflict and resolve it in a constructive way, I think that's going to be, a multiplier for what the team can do and the longevity and the happiness of the team. I think those are very important factors as well. So, what other difficulties have you seen?
That is one that may be a tad specific for IT. I see. I wouldn't say that I only saw it in IT, but I seem to see it a lot more in IT. Is the inability to work together, and by that I mean I do this, and when I'm done with this, I send to somebody else. They do that, and they send to somebody else. They work in little kingdoms, in little fiefdoms, in little domains, in little silos. Let's use the word, right? And I always try to explain to them, using a simple technique like swarming, which is multiple people working on the same thing, goes a long way to speeding things up. But there's always resistance. Well, if the two of us work on the same thing at the same time, we're going to step on each other's toes. That's not true. That's lack of good processes, is lack of good ways of working, etc. Well, but they don't know as much as I do. They're going to slow me down. That's not true. They can learn from you, or you can learn from them, and you guys learn a skill that you didn't have before. And after a while, you're going to be at the same level and things are going to move a lot faster. So there are all sorts of excuses why we shouldn't work together. And again, it's not a bunch of people, it's actually focusing on something. Now, do we need to have the whole team working swarming at the same time? No. I mean,
No,
maybe half of the team does that, half of the team does the other thing. Maybe most of the team is going to do one thing and one or two
right.
people are going to do something else. You have to play around and see what works, but finding excuses why it doesn't work well to get multiple people working the same thing, it's a sign for me that you have a bunch of people and you don't have a team.
Yeah. So, this is it's hard at first. I've been through this, right? Where you're right, Q. This is where you want to set up an assembly line and I do my part and then you do your part. And so when things get stuck, like, Q, why aren't you done yet? Right. But if you're a team, and again, this is very important to talk about as a team, hey, all for one for all, right? To quote the Three Musketeers or whatever. So, like, if you're stuck and I'm not an expert like you are in some things, but let's talk about it. And sometimes people, it's contrarian, right? Like you think that's going to slow the team down, but it's not. And actually, there's other benefits, like you said, right? You're going to share knowledge. You're going to build more strength within the team. I know, you can't look at just the economics and say, oh, that doesn't make sense because, the rates or whatever. But there's definitely a benefit to act as a team and then to get people to share knowledge and to help out together. And the way things are these days with tools and et cetera, you don't, you can explain people what needs to be done and, swarming. So you focus on one thing that's getting the whole team entirely stuck and they can move past it. And then you can go back to where, okay, I do this, you do that, and we're still aiming towards a goal. So it's a good temporary technique, right?
Yeah, and we should never construe that to say that we only swarm 100% of the time,
Right.
right?
Right.
Teams have to use that as this is one way of working that we can employ to solve a certain problem, getting something done, et cetera, et cetera. But I think the most I can tell to teams is learn how to experiment. If you're gonna be the kind of person who say, well, status quo, we always done this way, you miss the point of working with other people. It's about creating new ideas. It's about exploring new ideas. It's about experimenting. And don't be sad if you try something that doesn't work. Hey, you learn that it doesn't work, which I'd rather do that when I'm experimenting or when the gun pointed about my head. We got this thing done,
Exactly.
you know, and then, oh crap, it didn't work, right? So I think experimentation for me, the willingness to experiment, it's
Yep.
a trait that I like to cultivate in teams because everybody benefits from it. Is it easy to adopt? No, it's not. You know, people don't like change.
No.
People don't like change. Nobody likes change. They're crazy people like me who buys a new cell phone every 3 months, you know, or whatever the new cell phone is out, and other things too. But most people, they just want routine, routine, routine. The problem with that is there's no evolution. And there is also no innovation. Because even if you say, well, we are always tweaking our processes to be a bit more efficient, as a team, we're always looking for efficiencies, right? But you are only making something more efficient, but you are not innovating. And then what's going to happen is somebody who innovates is going to make a mess out of your stuff because your stuff is very static. And that's one of the biggest things for a team is to learn how to investigate together, how to flush new ideas together, how to implement ideas, how to experiment. That for me is a big difference between a group of people and a team. Because a group of people just
Yeah.
gonna say, okay, we have to do this. Okay, how do we do this? Well, the way we always done it. Okay, cool. And after you've done that 100 times. Yeah, we got way faster, right? The past 6 months, it used to take
Yeah.
an hour to do this. We're doing 45 minutes now. But you didn't find a way to go beyond that point, right? Because at that point, you need innovation. There's
Yeah.
so much improvement that you can do. You also have to think of new ways to do it. That for me defines a team. A bunch of people working together, they don't get to that part.
Right. Yeah, that's such a great point, and I know we could probably do an entire show on real life examples of what you just talked about, right? So when I think about, obviously software is a good example where you look at Skype, right? Who was this four or five people were a team and they came up with a product and look how it, took over for communications. Um, you know, eh, again, we can probably do lots of examples, so we won't, but it's so important is what you're saying, right? Not just people working together, but people actually collaborating together, if I can use
Mhm.
that word in there, and being able to resolve conflicts and get to innovation, right? Getting to new ideas and getting to experiment those new ideas because one of those ideas could be, right? It's kind of funny how some ideas you just, you think, "Oh, that's crazy," but if you actually poke at it a little bit and try a little bit, you find out it could be the next big thing.
Yep, absolutely. And remember, big difference between a team and a group of people. When I am in a team, I know people have my back, my proverbial back, right?
Excellent.
If I need, they're there. Okay. A group of people, yeah, yeah, so and so, well, he can't make it today. Great, right? Right. But
Yeah.
nobody actually reached out and said, hey, can we help you or something? It's when people have your back and know you have a team.
Very good. Hey, folks, what do you think? Are you professional as part of a team? Do you agree? Do you have examples or do you have questions? Well, hit the comment section below and please like and subscribe. And thanks for sticking around with us. I think we'll do a few more of these. So we definitely want to hear from you and we will incorporate in the next video. So thank you and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.